Breaking news. Breaking news. Robert Sylvester Kelly, professionally and famously known as R. Kelly, has been sentenced to 30 years under federal law due to being convicted for sex trafficking. Are we really surprised? To be honest, because I'm not. And I'm going to talk about why I'm not surprised after I finish reading this article. Let's get into it. Yes. So I'm back with another one. And it's a good thing I waited because I had actually saw an article about his attorneys wanting to have his sentence mitigated because he was abused by his sister, which his brothers have confirmed it in the R. Kelly documentary because of it happening to them as well. So it reads from the New York Post, Predator R. Kelly sentenced to 30 years in sex trafficking case. He's a caged bird now. R. Kelly, the Grammy-winning singer and pinnacle of 90s pop stardom, was slapped with 30 years in prison Wednesday for sexually abusing women and underage girls and boys over the course of decades. The fallen, I Believe I Can Fly singer did not react as U.S. District Judge Ann Donnelly issued the stiff sentence after hearing from at least 7 victims during an hours-long hearing in Brooklyn Federal Court. You made me do things that broke my spirit. I literally wish I would pass away because of how low you made me feel, one woman told the disgraced R&B star. Kelly, 55, was convicted on 9 charges, including racketeering and violating the Mann Act, which bars interstate transportation of women and girls for immoral purposes. Prosecutors portrayed him as a serial predator over several decades who used his fame to exploit his victims and asked the judge for a sentence of more than 25 years. Indeed, Kelly's decades of crime appeared to have been fueled by narcissism and a belief that his musical talent absolved him of any need to confirm his conduct, no matter how predatory, harmful, humiliating, and abusive to others to the structures of the law. The U.S. Attorney's Office for Eastern District of New York said in a memo to the judge. Among the numerous witnesses during the trial was accuser Geronda Pace, who said she began a relationship with the singer while she was underage. Once, while he was angry with her, he hit her and pushed her to perform oral on him, she told the court. Another witness testified Kelly illegally married singer Aaliyah in 1994 because he was afraid she was pregnant and he believed that nuptials would block her from testifying against him and shield him from prosecution for having sex with a minor. Aaliyah, who passed away in a 2001 plane crash, used a forged ID that Kelly's entourage allegedly obtained by bribing a public official, according to testimony. Attorneys for the disgraced I Believe I Can Fly singer, whose full name is Robert Kelly, asked for a lenient sentence of 10 years or less, claiming Kelly had been raised in an abusive household and was himself the victim of sexual abuse. Lawyer Jennifer Bonjean, who recently, oh Lord, this is getting bad. Okay. Lawyer Jennifer Bonjean, who recently represented disgraced actor and comedian Bill Cosby, told the judge Kelly was sexually abused by a family member and a former landlord, and that should be considered a mitigating factor in the sentencing. The multi-platinum selling superstar is also functionally literate and has a traumatic and private childhood that included him being shot by a stray .22 bullet and witnessing the death of a childhood friend who was shoved into a river. Oh, and drowned. That's sad. Kelly has been portrayed by the government and the media as a one-dimensional villain, undeserving of any measure of humanity or dignity, Bonjean wrote. This court is charged with considering Kelly's history and characteristics, revealed that he is not an evil monster, but a complex, unquestionably flawed human being who faced overwhelming challenges in childhood that shaped his adult life. Kelly's fiancée, Joycelyn Savage, was among those who submitted letters of support for the Grammy winner. Savage declared she was not a victim of the singer and called the couple's relationship amazing. The Robert I know is very sweet, gentle, and kind. At the end of the day, he has always made sure that I'm taken care of, and any other woman he was with as well. Savage wrote in her letter to the judge, Robert and I are deeply in love, and it breaks my heart that the government has created a narrative that I'm a victim. Kelly didn't testify during the trial, but famously broke into hysterics during an unhinged 2019 interview with CBS News' Gayle King. The interview came in the wake of a damning series, Surviving R. Kelly, which documented a slew of allegations against him, and he proclaimed his innocence and denied accusations he effectively held a woman captive in a cult. How stupid would it be for R. Kelly, with all I've been through, in my way past to hold somebody? He rallied. Or he railed. Guys, use your common sense. Forget the blogs. Forget how you feel about me. Hate me if you want. Love me if you want. But just use your common sense. How stupid would it be? Kelly is still facing charges in Minnesota of engaging in prostitution with a minor, as well as federal charges in Illinois of pornography and obstruction. First of all, 30 years and you 55 years old? Come on, you know the answer to that. It's a wrap for his career. First of all, I'm going to be honest with you. As far as his music, I'm a fan of his music. I think he's one of the greatest R&B talents to ever come out of the industry. I think that he is an R&B superstar. Okay? He is undoubtedly an R&B superstar. And you cannot mention the 90s without two people, Mary J. Blige and R. Kelly. Okay? And they both made their debut in 1992. Okay? And they're both Capricorns. I just want to mention that. Now, I can listen to the music, but still separate the artistry from the person. Meaning, I can recognize he's very talented, but also recognize that he is a demented deviant who should have been incarcerated for what he was doing to those girls, going back to the 90s, okay? He also needed counseling, and he never got it. That's number 2. And number 3, while I have to say this, those girls were pushed onto him by the parents. It's a known fact. The parents knew that R. Kelly was dealing with them, and they wanted him to mentor them, their children, to have a singing career, i.e. Rashonda Landfair. And I spoke about Miss Landfair in almost 3 years ago. Next month, which is around the corner, is my anniversary for that. I always said that this was not a clear-cut situation of, R. Kelly is like a mastermind behind all of this. He has to be God. He has to, pretty much, he's a villain. Yes, what he did is villainous. But I have always believed that he was involved in a network of these type of people, and that he was the public face of what was going on. But there were other people who was running this scheme of these girls. Because I'm going to tell you why. R. Kelly is in prison. He's been in prison for the past 3 years. And this stuff is still going on in these various states. Okay? This stuff is still going on. Now, according to this case, it's federal. So we're talking about trafficking minors for predatory sexual reasons. Has it stopped? No. It's still going on in these various cities. So what does that tell you? It tells you that R. Kelly wasn't really the mastermind of this. See, it's not like he's being convicted of doing rape, I don't want to say sexually abusing teens, that he basically had access to. He got convicted for an enterprise. He got convicted on RICO. Okay? So that tells you that they're saying that he ran an enterprise. Now, my issue with this is, if the enterprise was going on while he was away in prison, that means there's other people involved. That is my only thing. However, R. Kelly should have gotten convicted the first time. But see, the reason being was that he was still in contact with Rashonda's family. Okay? The family basically sold her to him. That's the girl that was on the videotape. So, because of that, Rashonda didn't get, like, her justice. And then, come to find out, according to the Survivor R. Kelly interview, the woman, Miss Kitty, I believe that was her name, is like, she was a DJ in Houston and Dallas. She said that she was introduced to her by R. Kelly back in 2011. And she ended up, a couple of days later deciding to look up the girl's name, because she said her name was Rashonda. She looked her up and all the stuff popped up with the tape. And she was like, oh, hell no. And she was deep in that entourage. And they said even when Survivor R. Kelly was released, she was still deep in it, because her parents de facto sold her to them, meaning like they wanted the promise of a career for their children. And it happened for them, not in the States, but it happened for them in Germany, Japan, and Italy. They were very big in Germany, but they couldn't sing at all. And it was a family of them. But she was the one that he used for his pleasures. And it was gross what they did. They had that little girl. She wasn't a little girl. She was like 13. They had her in threesomes with grown women. What they did to her was deplorable. But she's, moved on with her life. And you can listen to what I spoke about in the that article audio. I still have it up. I know a lot of people went at me for what I said. And even but at the time I was a little bit, I would say I was lenient towards R. Kelly. But I was I was angry with the parents. But he should be in prison. But if you're going to convict him for RICO and under the Mann Act, and this stuff is still going on, then it's not fair. You got to convict others as well. And I do believe other people are going to go down for this. Because R. Kelly, you had nothing to lose. You're worth only $1 million, probably less than that. Word on the curb is that Aaliyah's mom has the rights to his publishing. And another thing, too, is that R. Kelly is in Brooklyn along with Ghislaine Maxwell, who got 20 years, which I think she should have got the same time as him, because hers was international. R. Kelly's wasn't. It was just, like national. But, this is a sad moment in R&B history. Someone who I considered to be an icon threw it all away. And he could have had counseling. He could have had the money for counseling. But you know what? We got to keep it real. R. Kelly didn't want it. R. Kelly really likes the teenagers. That's what he likes. He's got a thing for it. And what's funny? When I was about 10 years old, I kind of got a weird vibe from him when the Bump and Grind video was released, because I had said, I understand this is R&B, but he's a little bit too overtly sexual on stage. And I don't know why I just picked up on it. And I just picked up on, like, maybe he's like a freak in the bed, or maybe it could be something really more sinister. Then the whole thing with Aaliyah came out not even a year later. And so I'm like, okay, so he married a teen girl. So I know, like, he likes the teens. But then he rebranded his image when he came out with that second solo album, and then Space Jam. And when he came up with I Believe I Can Fly, it's like everybody scrubbed that out of their mind and their consciousness. And it's like he was the king of R&B. of 90s R&B. Okay? And it was like he was hailed as a hero. And R. Kelly, I want to say this though before I finish speaking about this. R. Kelly, when he arrived, he canceled a lot of people's careers. And I'm going to name the people whose careers he canceled. He canceled two of the greatest talent vocalists of the 1980s. He canceled Aaron Hall, who hates R. Kelly and who's probably happy over this. He's not really innocent either. There's some stuff about him. And he also canceled Bobby Brown. He was the person who our family would say he knocked him out. Because when R. Kelly came out, even with Arrested Development, Bobby Brown had a hard time really like clawing his way and getting to the top. Back to the top, like from that second album. And then even some of the older cats that was there, you know, he gave Luther Vandross competition. The Gap Band, Charlie Wilson competition. Who else? I can't think of, it's so many other people's names. Oh, Freddie Jackson. I mean, he was taking people's careers. And this is what you do. You know, we gave you access to work with so many different artists. And this is what you do. You repay us by being a deviant and committing crimes against children, particularly black girls. Because there wasn't any white girls mentioned. They were all black. And one Hispanic, according to this about R. Kelly. They were all black. This is how you repay the fans. This is how you repay the community. So I do think he should be in jail, but I also think other people should be held accountable. And I do think those girls' parents should be convicted of that as well. And I'm going to sign off with this. Thank you for listening to this commentary. If you don't think R. Kelly should be convicted, I would love to read what you have to say. If you think he should, I would love to read what you have to say. If you think that it's a witch hunt, I would love to hear it. But I want to say one thing. The lawyer for R. Kelly, I kind of question her motives, because if I was representing Bill Cosby, who almost a year ago today, one day short of a year, was released from prison, I would not get involved with R. Kelly, because then it would make me look like I'm just trying to release people who have been accused of being sexual predators. And I'm just kind of questioning her. I wouldn't have took this case. I'm going to be honest with you. Because especially she represented Bill Cosby, and you know how people feel about that. I wouldn't have took this case. I wouldn't have took it. But that's all I have to say on this matter. Thank you for listening and have a great day.